Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are starting a new chapter, Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, the opulence of the Absolute. Text number 1. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabaho Shrinu Me Paramam Vachaha Yate Aham Priyamanaya Vakshami Hitakamyaya. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna. Because you are my dear friend, for your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained." Can someone read the purport, please? Yes,
Right.
Amala. Yes.
The word Bhagavan is explained thus by Parasara Muni. One who is full in 6 opulences. One has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation is Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all 6 opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parasara Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning with the 7th chapter, the Lord has already explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now, in this chapter, he explains his specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he has clearly explained his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. Again, in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit, such discourses are taking place.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So as we can see, the title of the chapter is The Opulence of the Absolute, which means we will hear about the opulences of Krishna from Krishna. So here we see the first thing the verse starts with is Shri Bhagavana Uvacha. Bhagavan means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhaga means opulence and Van means possessor of those opulences. So here it says the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, which makes it very clear that it's not just some ordinary person speaking. It is the Supreme Lord speaking. And he tells Arjuna, the word uses Shrinu. Shrinu means hear. So he says, listen again, which means he has already explained to him before and he wants to repeat it because it's very important. And he says, why am I telling you again? Because you are my dear friend and for your benefit. Now one may say, well, Krishna spoke it to Arjuna for his benefit. What has that got to do with us? No, he spoke it to Arjuna, which means he spoke it to us again. He's asking us to listen again and for our benefit. He says, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. It's like, kids, you give them a lollipop and then you say, I have something better to give you, right? So that is like, whoa, immediately whatever is in the hand, seems to be not so important because there's something better coming. So here Krishna is saying that I am going to speak, I'm going to give you knowledge, which is actually nothing but bhakti yoga. And he wants to talk about devotion, bhakti yoga, and about himself. Now, the reason he's telling him to hear more is because Krishna is not yet finished. Krishna will finish only in 18th chapter, and now we are only on the 10th chapter. By the way, in the 10th chapter, there are 4 verses which are called the Chatur Shloki Gita, which, 4-verse Bhagavad Gita. Important for, that way all verses are important, but this is Chatur Shloki, wherein is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. So here, Krishna is telling Arjuna, because you're my dear, very dear friend. And how can we consider Krishna to be a very dear friend? With a simple fact that Krishna, he travels with us in each body that we take, right? He is there within our hearts as a super soul. So he's traveling with us. It doesn't matter what body we take, whether it's that of a demigod, of a human, of an aquatic or a tree, whatever. Krishna is traveling with us in all bodies for our benefit. Now, especially for us human beings who have philosophical intelligence, who can think, when they hear, they have the capability to process that knowledge that we get. So it is important that we use it for our benefit. Now he's going to give better knowledge about himself and the opulences. As the verse starts with Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Parashar Muni. Parashar Muni, a great devotee of the Lord, he has given a beautiful verse in the scriptures which says, Aishwarasya samagrasya virasya yashashriya. So he's talking about the qualifications of someone who is supposed to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. And these are the 6 opulences he talks about. Someone, he says, who has, all these 6 qualities in full, like, complete full wealth, knowledge, renunciation, fame, power, strength. So all these, opulences are in full. And Krishna, when he came here 5,000 years ago, he displayed all these 6 opulences. So when it says even if you look up in dictionary the meaning of God, it's a singular, right? It's a supreme being, one person only. Because if there is someone who is equal to you or above you, then you cannot be the supreme. Supreme means topmost position. So there's only one Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one who has, in of course, in this material world, we will see someone who is very, very beautiful, like Marilyn Monroe, right? Very, very beautiful. Or someone very wealthy, or someone very famous. But we will not find one person who has all these 6 opulences in full. That we will not find in this material world. That belongs only to Krishna, the Supreme Lord. So, since he is already, according to the scriptures, he's already been, it has already been told to us, knowledge given to us that he is the Supreme Lord, that means everything belongs to him. In fact, in this chapter itself, when he's talking about his opulences, he's going to talk about that everything belongs to him. Even this body that we have got is because of his mercy. He's the one who has given us this body also. So it is important to understand that he is all in all. Now, to understand Bhagavad Gita, we need that faith, right? That basic faith is required. And there has to be inquisitiveness also. Like, we need to be inquisitive. Oh, why is Krishna saying that? What does that mean? What did this chapter talk about? So that inquisitive nature will help us to get more knowledge. And then when we get more knowledge, then we contemplate on that and put it into practice. So Bhagavad Gita, it has answers to all questions that we may have in our lives in this material world. All questions, right? But the answers, they are given as according to the time, place, and circumstance. For instance, let me give you an example. if a question is being asked by a second grader, and that same question is being asked by, say, a 12th grader, will the answer be the same? No, it's going to be different. Why? Because the level of, uh, I would say, knowledge and consciousness of a second grader compared to a 12th grader is very, very different. So here, of course, if you remember, we also came across that verse which said, for the doubting soul, there is neither peace in this life nor in the next. And that's what Prabhupada talks about in the purport also, that it's important to have that faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have read the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. If you go to page number 3, Prabhupada says very clearly, he says that if, unless we accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will not understand Bhagavad Gita at all. To understand Bhagavad Gita, we need to have the attitude that Arjuna had. We need to have that surrender and that faith, firm faith that Arjuna had. Only then we will be able to understand Bhagavad Gita. Now, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about in this verse that in chapter 7, Krishna talked about his different energies, right? And in this chapter, he is going to talk about some specific opulences and his manifestations, not everything, because Krishna's transcendental qualities, they are increasing every day. So it's not practical, it's not possible to be able to talk about the transcendental qualities of Krishna in full. That is not possible at all. But the fact that Krishna is talking about his opulences is to give us an indication how great he is, right? Supposing, I have a friend who I consider to be a very close friend, and then all of a sudden I come to know that, oh, he is the president, or he is the prime minister, or he is so great. Then, then my thought process changes, right? I will be like, oh, I didn't know my friend is so great. So here Krishna is talking about his opulences so we can understand how great he is. And once we understand that, then we will be able to increase our devotion towards him, right? So why should we hear about his opulences? So that our faith increases and it becomes very firm, and our devotion also towards him increases. The more we will hear about Krishna, the more we'll become fixed in devotional service. But the thing is, we need to be anxious about it. Unless we are anxious to hear about him, we will not get the benefit. And the more we will hear, the more we are going to progress spiritually. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that we should hear about Krishna in association of devotees, right? Supposing, I send out the information about this class, Bhagavad Gita class on Wednesdays, to a set of people who have no idea about Bhagavad Gita, are not interested, but they are only interested in stock market. Would that be ideal? They will not be interested at all. Why? Because I'm not talking about stock market. So here it is important to talk about Bhagavad Gita in association of devotees, like-minded people, spiritually minded people, so that, because they have that basic faith, they have faith that there is God, and basic faith that Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna himself. So it's important to hear in association of devotees, then the devotion also increases. And the more we will hear, the more there's going to be self-realization. Now, here Krishna is talking to Arjuna about listen again, right? So that means there is a difference between hearing and listening. Hearing is, oh yeah, I heard it, yeah, okay. But listening is paying attention to what we are hearing, right? Excuse me. So that is very, very important. And that listening is called oral reception, which means the ear is receiving some sound vibrations, right? So when the sound vibrations are coming, if at heart we are not receptive, if we are not so keen on hearing, then it'll just be words. We are just hearing words, right? Oh, yes, there was someone personality called Krishna who spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and there was Arjuna, further on like that. But if the consciousness is that, yes, I want to receive it, I'm eager to hear it, then one would be more inclined to hearing Bhagavad Gita, right? Usually in this material world, people want to hear what they like to hear. Is that true? They want to hear what they like to hear, and they don't want to hear what they don't like to hear, right? So here, Bhagavad Gita is for those who consider themselves to be a friend of Krishna, or they want to become a friend of Krishna. Let's go to verse number 2. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. See? Very, very clear. He's saying, I am the source. And the same will be repeated in verse 10 of this chapter, where Krishna is going to say the same thing. He's saying, I am the source. The demigods come from me. He is the supreme. No one is greater than him. The first living being who came into creation was Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, in his prayers, now Lord Brahma received the knowledge through Krishna, through his ears. He was receptive, so he heard the full knowledge from Krishna, and he wrote a beautiful prayer called Brahma Samhita. And the very first verse says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam, that he, Krishna, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, and you are the cause of all causes. And here in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying the same thing. He's saying, I am the source of the demigods and sages. And he also says that even the demigods, they cannot understand me. That is what he's saying. Not even the great sages, they cannot understand. So how do we understand? We can understand Krishna only if we have his mercy. And he says he gives his mercy if we worship him with love and devotion. Dadami buddhi yogam. He gives us the intelligence, and then we can understand. But we need to hear. We need to hear about Krishna from Krishna under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. And to do that, one has to have that sincerity. And only when that, like in the beginning of the lecture, I said that eagerness has to be there. And then when that eagerness is there, then automatically the ears become receptive, and then there is surrender. Gradually there is surrender. So faith and devotion both are necessary. Let's go to verse number 3. He says, he who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undeluded among men, is freed from all sins. So here we have a process by which we can become sin-free, no more sin. So if we become sin-free, no more sinful reactions, then we will not really suffer. So, but for that, one needs to understand not just theoretically, but even understand it on the realization platform, which means we need to understand, just like, one may say that, people generally say, you are selfish. Have you heard that before? People telling you, you are selfish, right? But most people, if they are selfish, means actually they are bodish. Selfish, self, body, right? Selfish, bodyish. That means they are on the bodily platform. They're thinking only about the body, right? But here it's not just theoretically we need to understand, but we need to also practically understand that Krishna, he is unborn, beginningless. He is the supreme Lord of all the worlds. This is what he's saying. He is the supreme Lord of all the worlds. And such a person who is undeluded becomes freed from sins. So here is a process. And in one of the verses, Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhe, right? Out of thousands of men, hardly one tries for perfection. And out of thousands of those who have attained perfection, Krishna says, kaschid mam veti tatvata. Hardly one knows me in truth. See, and in this verse which we just read, he's talking about Veti Lokam Maheshwaram. He is the supreme proprietor. He is unborn. In fact, in the purport, Prabhupada explains that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they are also born. Lord Shiva is the son of Lord Brahma. They are all born, you see. But when Krishna came 5,000 years ago on this earthly planet, he did not take birth. He appeared, right? He appeared. I don't know how many of you have heard this pastime of Krishna. In fact, on next Tuesday, the 11th is Janamashtami, which is the appearance day of Lord Krishna. And that is a huge festival in the whole year, which is celebrated, wherein one gets an opportunity to perform some austerity. And one of the austerities is, there are 3 austerities to perform. One is to fast. You see, if one is able to, if one doesn't have any medical condition, then one should try and fast without even drinking water, right from the previous, like say on the 10th night, midnight, till the 11th midnight, 24 hours fast without water. If that's not possible, then drink water. If that's not possible, eat fruits, but do not eat grains and beans. That's very sinful. On Janmashtami, if we perform this austerity, what happens? Scientifically, it's proved that when we fast, we are giving rest to our digestive system, which is very good for health. You see, but besides, it's it being beneficial for the body, it's very beneficial spiritually, because Krishna is very pleased when we perform the austerity. When we go to chapter 17, we'll hear the austerity of the mind, of the body, of the senses, all those. So this is a very good opportunity on Tuesday. So being the appearance day of Krishna. So how does he appear? We have already learned Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yoveti Tattva Tyaktva Deham Panar Janma Naiti Mameti. So Arjuna. That Krishna says, if anyone understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, that person does not take another birth after giving up this body. So this is another process of going back to Godhead. So on the 11th, which is the Janmashtami at 3:30 p.m., I will speak about Janmashtami for about 30 minutes on Zoom. If any of you are interested, I will send you the link where you can hear it. But the main point is that Tuesday is of course, every day is very important, but Tuesday specifically in the whole year is very important. So first austerity is to fast. Second austerity is to chant. And the third austerity is to hear about Krishna or read the Bhagavad Gita. So this is what we can do, on especially on Tuesday. So to be able to understand who Krishna really is, then we need guidance from the spiritual master. In fact, Prabhupada says there's a trinity: Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So whatever the bona fide Guru says should match up with the scriptures, which is the Shastras, and should match up also with Sadhu, which is the bona fide spiritual masters coming down in the disciplic succession. So this is how we can verify. You see, now you have been hearing my lectures for a couple of years now. Some of you have met my spiritual master, and some of you have heard from him. So that is a test. You see, whatever I have spoken, is it what he's speaking also? What we are speaking, is it already there in the Bhagavad Gita or not? So that is how you come to know whether the person who's speaking is bona fide or not. Let's go to verse number 4. 4 and 5 is together. So this is a big verse. So we will conclude at this verse today. What does Krishna say? He says, intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. See, it's a very long purport. So, what I have done, I have made a summary of this whole purport, wherein what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna is that means everything comes from Krishna. This verse also clearly states that all this, he says, comes from me. Now, when he's talking about intelligence, intelligence means it refers to the power to analyze in proper perspective. That is intelligence. Intelligence is not what is that, what is your IQ score or whatever. No, he's not talking about that. He's talking about on the spiritual level, to analyze in proper perspective. Now, knowledge in Sanskrit is called jnana, right? Knowledge, not the material knowledge, but knowledge that can help us to understand difference between matter and spirit, right? Not the material knowledge that we get in our universities, colleges, schools, or whatever. If you notice, I don't know how many of you in school or college were taught what is the spirit soul. Anybody? No? All we are taught about the body, right? The physics, the chemistry, or whatever. There is no talk about the soul. So material education only talks about matter. But knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, it gives us knowledge about who we really are, the spirit soul, right? And the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita can help one become free from doubt and delusion. That's what Krishna is talking about in this verse, right? A samoha. That means free from doubt and delusion. So when we are free from doubt and delusion, then there's no bewilderment, right? No bewilderment. And then he talks about non-violence. Non-violence does not mean that you don't harm somebody, right? Just ahimsa, non-violence. No, non-violence means not to put others in misery or confusion. Very, very important, right? So that means, isn't there a phrase which says, think twice before you speak, right? Why? Because we don't want to cause misery to others. When we learn about the austerity of speech, this is what it talks about. Austerity of speech is to be honest, to speak the truth. And secondly, to not agitate others. So when we agitate, when we put someone in misery, agitate them, then that is violence. Even though we are not touching them, we are not doing any physical harm, but just with our speech, we may be, kind of being violent. That is what he's talking about, non-violence, which means not to put others in misery or confusion. Now, then he talks about kshama. Kshama is tolerance and forgiveness. Is it easy to forgive? Nope. It's not easy to forgive at all, right? We keep that. So if someone has insulted us or caused misery, we hold on to that in our heart and carry it with us year after year after year. Is that right? Yes. We don't want to forgive. But here Krishna is saying that kshama, tolerance and forgiveness, this needs to be practiced. We must excuse these offenses done by others. Now, supposing someone insults me, which they have done, which I'm sure some will do in the future also. But what should be my reaction? My reaction should be, well, this person has insulted me because I deserve it. It's in my karma, in my past karma. This person is just a an instrument to give me my karma. So why not just forgive, right? It is my karma, my sinful reactions which I'm facing. So why should I be upset with someone else who's just being an instrument to give me my karma? Then Krishna talks about satyam, which is truthfulness, right? It's, there's something called white lie, right? White lie. It's like, oh, I'm trying to save the other person from getting hurt. So I'm going to call it a white lie. No, Krishna is very clear. Satyam means truthfulness, which means we must state the facts as they are, no duplicity. But we have to put it in a very kind way, in a very soothing way, not like, boom, boom, boom. No, we have to be honest. Truthfulness is important, and there should be no duplicity. And of course, we need to train our mind to use this body and not misuse it, because this human form of body is for self realization, right? If the senses are going to unnecessarily engage in sense enjoyment, and there's no control over the mind, senses and body, then what will happen? There's going to be very difficult. It's going to be a very difficult life, and it'll be almost like getting back into the cycle of birth and death. There'll be no relief from these miseries, and there'll be no person will not be able to qualify to go back to Godhead. So it's very important that we learn, especially on Tuesday. It's a very good opportunity, which is Janmashtami, to perform the austerity of the body, to try and fast, austerity of the mind, to not get what you call distracted, to control the mind and to control the senses. Because, especially where on the days of fasting, is that's when you really miss the food, and you really think about it, and you want to smell it, and you want to see it, right? But then that austerity is important. So following these rules, so fasting on ekadashi days, and especially Janmashtami, is one of the austerities. Another thing Krishna talked about is tushti, which is satisfaction, right? One should be satisfied with whatever one is obtaining from the Supreme Lord. We have to understand that whatever good or bad I have is based on my past karma. So be satisfied. Why struggle hard, for more material possessions and more material positions, so this and that? No, there has to be a balance between the material life and spiritual life. Both need to be in real good balance. And how can we do that? Our mind may say, oh, you've done enough. You've done enough of reading Bhagavad Gita, hearing Bhagavad Gita, chanting everything. Now take a break. This is what the mind will say. But no, the intelligence is what is supposed to try and control the mind with the help of knowledge. When we sharpen the intelligence with the sword of knowledge, that is when we start making good decisions. So being satisfied is very, very important. Then Krishna talks about charity, which is dana, right? Giving dan. And in chapter 17 and 18, we will learn more about charity, that the charity also falls in different modes. It could be in the mode of ignorance, passion, goodness, and pure goodness. 4 different modes. So one needs to know, when and where and to whom to give charity. That's very, very important. And then of course Krishna talks about equanimity, which is samatha. That refers to freedom from attachment and aversion. We need to accept, in fact, Rupa Goswami tells us in Nectar of Devotion, he tells us, that we need to accept what is favorable for Krishna consciousness and reject what is unfavorable. You see, just like when parents are, bringing up their children, they make sure they give an environment to the children which is favorable, right, for their growth. And anything that they see is unfavorable, they try to remove it from their lives. So it's important that even in our spiritual life, we should be conscious of all our activities, not only just activities of the body, but activities of the mind also. Where is the mind going? Where is it getting distracted? So, but Bhagavad Gita is such a beautiful book. It's actually called a manual for human beings. this Bhagavad Gita. And understanding the Bhagavad Gita will help us to get rid of anxiety. So when we understand Bhagavad Gita and we perform devotional service, then Krishna says that all these qualities that he talked about in verse 4 and 5, they will automatically develop in devotees. So we don't have to really strive hard, endeavor, oh, let me try for this quality, let me try and get, no, it'll be automatic once we start performing devotional service. And what is devotional service? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedam. 9 processes of devotional service. And we are already doing, we are hearing, and it's important to also chant. Kirtanam, chanting is also very, very important. So this Bhagavad Gita, all the 18 chapters, it is just teaching us how to live this human form of life. Not to live like animals, because what do animals do? Eat, sleep, mate, and defend. Only these 4 things. But we, having that intelligence, philosophical intelligence, we should go beyond that. We should try and understand, oh, I have 86,400 seconds in a day. How am I using it? What am I doing? Am I using it in the right way? Or is my mind being very manipulative? What is it? You see? No. Human life is meant for self realization. And the Bhagavad Gita is separated so beautifully by Krishna. Chapter 1 through 6, he talks about karma yoga, how to connect with Krishna with actions, karma, right? Then chapter 7 to 12, the middle portion of the Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga, how to connect with Krishna through devotion. And the last chapters from 13 to 18 is Jnana Yoga, knowledge. Krishna is going to give knowledge. Of course, there's knowledge in all the chapters, but this is how he has divided it. And why should we, try to understand Bhagavad Gita? Why should we follow Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada explains very nicely. He says, with Bhagavad Gita, one gets healthy body, stress-free mind, sharp intelligence so they can make right choices, and happy souls. This is what Bhagavad Gita can give us. So if there's so much positivity, we get from just by hearing and practicing Bhagavad Gita, then we should take it very, very seriously. And, it's not that, everyone gets an opportunity to hear Bhagavad Gita. It's very, very rare. Very rare. So since we have this opportunity, it's my very humble request to you that please try and read Bhagavad Gita, every day if possible, and chant every day. That's very, very important, because just like, I have a disease and I realize, oh, I'm suffering. I have pain here, I have pain there, and I need to see the doctor. So I go to the doctor, and because he's bona fide, he diagnoses and he prescribes a medication. But it's up to me to whether I take the medication or not. Yes, I can get the knowledge from doctor. He'll say, okay, this is disease X, and this is the yellow tablet, will do this and this, whatever the whole knowledge he'll give me. But he cannot put the medicine in my mouth. That I have to choose. That yes, I want to get well, I really want to get rid of this disease, so I must take the prescribed medicine every day on a daily basis as per the required dosage given by the doctor. Then soon I will be free from the disease. Same is with spirituality, that yes, we are getting this knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, we are hearing, but now we also need to take the medicine, which is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So when we chant the Maha Mantra every day, then the disease which is there in our heart, what is the disease? The anarthas, lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, all these impurities which are in the heart, they will start getting cleared out, and then there will be purification. And when there is purification, then person is very happy and very peaceful. So I'm going to end today at this verse number 5. If anyone has any questions.
Hare Krishna, Gita ji. It's not a question, one request, Gita ji. Like
Yes.
Janmashtami is on Tuesday, you said. Like now it's Wednesday. You are going to talk about Janmashtami on 10th or 11th, you said, right? So before that, to set a stage or to cultivate the mood, how to observe, how to be in that mood. Can you give one more class, Gita ji? Is that possible? Any day?
Okay, what we could do is, any suggestions? Maybe on a Monday? Yeah. Yeah, okay, we can, so the class that I'm going to give on Tuesday, I'll just give it on Monday. So it prepares us for Tuesday, to start the from midnight onwards to start the austerity of observing Janmashtami. Is that okay?
Thank you, Gita ji.
Okay, all right.
But
I'll
I
send.
think,
Yeah.
Geetaji, you may have to like consider for the timing. I mean, those are working days, so if you'll just do it in the
In the
evening,
evening. Yes, in the evening. Yes. Yeah, because oh yes, Tuesday is working, so 3:30
and
would be
Monday
difficult.
as well. So when you said 3:30, it just becomes a little
Yeah.
difficult to join with the.
Okay, yes. Monday we'll schedule it for Monday at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.